everybody, how's it going? This is Artie Hoffman, and today's topic is readings and astrology. When is enough enough? You know, it's very good to be able to get insights from other people who have the gift of, whether it's psychic readings or mediumship readings or astrology readings. But again, what I'm saying is, when is enough enough? Some people have a habit of living and breathing by what other people say all the time. And therefore, they don't make themselves responsible enough for their own life, for their own choices. Now, when you go, when you're living your life, you're responsible for all your choices. And, it's very good to get, advice from other people, people who are reputable. I would say that the best way to find somebody is through a recommendation when you find people like this. But you also have to live your own life. You can't just live your life just based on what everyone says. And, there is what's known as psychic junkies, where they're always going from psychic to psychic to psychic. And they're not really taking responsibility enough for their own choices. They want to know what's going on in the future, what's going to happen. Well, a lot of that is based on your choices. There are certain things that are written in stone where things are going to happen come hell to high water. But a lot of things in your life are not written in stone. And this is all based on your choices. According to what you do will lead you from one person to the next, or the one situation to the next, based on your choices. So don't put the responsibility solely just on psychics and astrology. Yes, astrology is a map of your life, and it's good to get an overall peripheral vision of what's going on. So a lot of times people are very caught up in their own crap, in their own emotional crap. So it is good to get, an insight on the big picture of what's going on in your life. Maybe what I might suggest is that if you still feel a little confused or uncertain by what one psychic or astrologer has told you, maybe it would be a great idea to get a second opinion. But to go from a third to a fourth to a fifth, what sometimes people say, some people will get the same answer over and over again, and they won't like the answer of what they are getting. And so they keep on going until they hear somebody saying, oh yes, you are going to, your loved one is going to come back. Or, oh yes, you are going to get that job. Or oh yes, your loved one is going to pass away and you're going to get all these millions of dollars, with the will. And then oh yes, you will get more from the lawsuit than what was originally told you. So like I said, you want to know something? Somebody once came to me for a reading. I was doing a party, and I had to tell this girl hard news. And I'm usually, everyone who knows me, who has met me, usually knows me as a very inspirational reader. I try to see things in the light. And people say, do you only give good news? And I don't. But when I give hard news, all right, I get answers on how to overcome the problems or the obstacles. So there was this one girl who came to sit down with me, very pretty girl, and she was getting married. And while she walked right by me to sit down, I heard a voice in my head that said, he's not for you. And so I looked at her and I said, are you engaged? And she goes, yes. And I said, how engaged are you? And she said, well, we have half the money on the hall and half the money on the band and half the money on the flowers. And I felt really bad because the voice was saying, he's not for you. And so after she told me that, I sat there meditating for a moment. And again, the voice said, he's not for you. And I looked at her and I told her what I heard. I said, I'm really sorry to tell you. I said, but he's not for you. I said, you should not be getting married to him. He doesn't treat you right. And I feel like you're settling because you're just going after the house, the family, the car, the marriage, because everybody else is getting married and you feel like you're getting too old. And so therefore you're trying to just grab on anybody who's willing to do that with you. But it's not right. The timing isn't right. The person isn't right. And so she was very gracious to me in front of me, but I heard that when she left the house, she was crying, and all her other friends said to me, Artie, we all tried to tell her that, you're not with the right person. But when she was sitting with me and I told her this really big time hard news, I said to her, why don't you get a second opinion? I said, this is my gut feelings, and I really feel strongly about this, but this is a big thing I just said to you. I said, why don't you get a second opinion? And she said to me, you are my second opinion. And I said, well, that's your answer. And so, and that's when she left and being disappointed. But like I said, how many times are you going to keep on going from prediction to prediction to prediction to prediction, until enough is enough? Like I said, live your life. If you're coming across crossroads or you're feeling a little emotionally off balance or a little whack there, it's okay to go for your psychic readings. I'm a psychic. I do this all the time for people. But I always tell people, don't become addicted. Whenever you feel you're going through a lot of crap in your life, different situations, come see me, even if it's next week or in 10 days or a month from now, whatever. But so long as it's something different, don't come to me asking me on the same questions, because I'm basically going to give you the same answer. So what I'm trying to say is be responsible for your life. And when you need help from an astrologer, a qualified astrologer, a reputable psychic medium, all right, go to them, and go for that assistance and for that help. But be responsible for your life and your choices. You still have to live your life. And I just want to say, it was a great pleasure sharing this information with you. I'm Artie Hoffman. I want you to check me out at artiehoffman.com. I got the coolest YouTube videos. I got the coolest website, artiehoffman.com. Call me at 877-ANGEL-02 if you want to get a private reading from me in person in Woodbridge, New Jersey, or over the phone. Okay, again, it's 877-ANGEL-02, and I'm more than happy to do a reading for you. And if you want, let's have a girls' night out, all right? We could have an Artie party. It was a great pleasure sharing time with you, and you have a wonderful week.